Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time to have a little talk about Lost Eidolons. Now, many of you may have suspected that the previous video would be the final video in the Lost Eidolons playlist, but no, actually I had two other videos planned to possibly record at some point. One would be me going through and reading all of the character epilogues at a reasonable pace, pausing the video so I can actually read them before they disappear off the screen. And the second would have been a little something special for Clara fans. The real Clara apology. Yeah. Anyway, neither of those have happened yet for some reason or another. There's been lots of different reasons, okay. However, last Friday, so almost a week ago now, this popped up on Steam on the Lost Eidolons page as an update. And I have mixed feelings about it. I thought, you know what, they hadn't put it on their Discord server yet as a news update, although I think they have now. And I thought, okay, maybe I should talk about this, right? Now, I am going to go through and read this, for your audible pleasure, but I'll also offer some thoughts and feedback, and we'll see how this plays out, alright? So, as you can see, the title is Lost Eidolons, Veil of the Witch, and we have a lovely picture here in a ugly, evil manga-poo art style, which I absolutely loathe and detest and wish they had not used. Yes, I will be getting onto that later. But with Lost Eidolons, Veil of the Witch written across it in big letters. So what could this possibly be? Hello everyone. It's been a while since our last major Lost Eidolons update, when we added New Game Plus mode to the PC edition. Since the game's release, we've spent a lot of time collecting feedback and having internal discussions about the game's future. As promised, we delivered LE, Lost Eidolons, on Xbox and PlayStation this month, with the help of our porting partner PID Games, or PID Games. Now it's time to decide where the world of Artemisia goes next. There were lots of paths available to us in making this decision. Should we do DLC, big or small, or should we just jump straight into Lost Eidolons 2? Jump straight into Lost Eidolons 2, absolutely, without a doubt. And ditch the visual novel style cutscenes. Go back to the old animated cutscenes that you were originally going to make for the first game. In the end, we've decided to take a different path and try something a bit unexpected. Hopefully, they will explore this path, enjoy it, get something good out of it, and then go and make Lost Eidolons 2. Today, I'm happy to share what we've been working on, an exciting new spin-off game titled Lost Eidolons, Veil of the Witch. We refer to the game as a spin-off rather than a true sequel, as it shares a lot of Lost Eidolons' core identity, and even a few characters. But the gameplay and general presentation is a major departure. Now let's dive into some questions you may be curious about. What kind of game is Veil of the Witch? Veil of the Witch is a turn-based tactical RPG with roguelite elements. Roguelite elements being a bit of a departure from the previous Lost Eidolons game, which had a more strong narrative structure. It takes place in the same world as Lost Eidolons, and is set shortly after the events of the first game. But it's an entirely standalone experience. You don't need any prior knowledge to play. Fans of the first game will find Veil of the Witch to be a tighter, more focused game that offers more of what they love with less friction in between. Am I not a fan? I mean, I liked the storytelling, I just felt there were some ways that it could have been a bit better. New players will find a rich world and characters, a fast and gritty combat system, and an addictive looping structure that sets the game apart from the rest of the genre. The rest of the genre being just Lost Eidolons, or other games like Lost Eidolons, which all seem to have an evil, ugly manga poo art style, but even worse than this one. I'm confident the game will speak for itself, and they have included a video we can watch. And I could click on that and watch that right now, but I'm not going to. I haven't actually watched this video yet, but I think if you people would like to go watch it, please, by all means, go and watch it on the, ODS, Ocean something Studios. Yeah, go watch it on their channel. You know, give them the clicks and the likes, not just me, right? I shouldn't be a substitute for watching it on their place. What's changed since Lost Eidolons? In one word, speed. Lost Eidolons was a linear, story-driven RPG that unfolds gradually. I liked that, overall. However, the third and final act of the story was clearly what the writers have been most excited about, but it felt like they'd poured so much of their effort into writing the first two acts that by the time they got to the third one, it was kind of rushed and condensed and not quite as good as it could have been. Veil of the Witch, on the other hand, is fast, gameplay-driven, and hits the ground running immediately. One of the most immediate changes is that we've done away with sprawling class trees that take 30 hours to get to the cool stuff. That's a shame. I think the sprawling class trees that were open to every character was one of the greatest strengths of Lost Eidolons. I do feel that having every single option available to everyone was a little bit too much, but having most of it available to everyone would have been quite nice. In Veil of the Witch, things are much more stripped down. Each character has a single class, oh dear God no why, with fixed weapons and armour and a very specific playstyle, so in that, right, is this going to be like something like War Tales, say, where you have a spearman, he can only use spears, but you need to find the spears and give him the spears? Or is this going to be something like, oh, what was that game? Where the characters keep their basic equipment, but you have trinkets and... Oh, like Darkest Dungeon, maybe. Where... No, in Darkest Dungeon you do need to upgrade weapons and armour. There was a game where the core equipment of the heroes stayed the same, and the items you gave them would only modify their inherent characteristics and special abilities without changing their equipment. So it would be like, you know, belts, magic rings, potions, things like that, right? There's still progression and choices to be made, skills to unlock, gear to be upgraded and so on, but generally it's a lot tighter and more focused now, because every character has been railroaded into a very specific way of playing. Evil Mangapoo face is problem. Why are you putting this on my screen, guys? Seriously, why are you suffering me? Wasn't Vambrace enough? Did I not suffer through those 4 or 5 episodes of trying to play Vambrace with its horrible eyesore art style? Dear goodness, please. This had better be really good. And you know what? If it is the Lost Eidolons combat very similar to the core original game, then this looks horribly like it's a mobile game in many ways, though, and I hope that's not the case. But if it is similar to the gameplay of Lost Eidolons itself, that could be a real bonus. I'm liking we're seeing the multiple square selections and a cross swords weakness there. That's wonderful. We've made a number of changes to the combat system itself, and the game's overall structure is radically different from Lost Eidolons. I'll save the details for another day, but for now I'll simply say that I'm a huge fan of games like Hades and Slay the Spire, and they've had a huge influence on Veil of the Witch. I have not played either of those games. I am aware that Hades is real-time, and Slay the Spire is a deck-building game. Apparently I've played games that are similar to Slay the Spire, without actually playing it itself. And the games I've played have differences which are significant. Result of all this is a leaner, meaner game with more excitement, greater strategic depth, and the freedom to approach battles how you decide. And a lot less story by the sound of it. But that does mean it will be easier and quicker to make and pump out for players to enjoy, to help feed the development of some future project like Lost Eidolons 2, or indeed the I think the zombie shooter game they're currently working on. I think it's a zombie shooter, I'm not entirely sure. But this doesn't mean the story experience isn't important to us. Like much of the rest of the game, our approach to narrative this time round is less is more. We've got a great setting, a tight cast of characters people will love, and a new approach to story presentation that, while sparse, we're hoping will be a lot more effective. We'll see. Oh, and we've taken the art direction for the characters and UI in a completely new direction, which I personally detest. I personally love how this game looks, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it soon. I really don't like this. So, for Lost Eidolons, we had a very realistic, classic style that was quite nice. There were a few backwards belt buckles which need to be resolved. And here we got all the backwards belt buckles. All the buckles are the wrong way around. Dear God, why are people obsessed with Todd Lockwood and his shit inability to understand how buckles work? So here, Veil of the Witch, the same character. This was the girl with like chimpanzee ears, wasn't it? The archer girl in Ballastar's company. But it's a way of saying, hey, here's a familiar character, here's another way of looking at them, with cartoony outlines like it's Mickey Mouse. And let's just pull this up big, right? There we go. So, in terms of like thick black outlines, not so bad. This is borderline unacceptable. Pushed over the line by 1, 2, 3. Hang on, can I? One, two, three, 4, 5 backwards belt buckles that literally physically don't work. Oh, guys, what have you done? What have you done? I'm very concerned here. Outlines aren't too thick. Shading and colour transitions are really rather good. This looks like still a reasonably decent art style. Outline of the ear and jaw somewhat visible through the hair. Yeah, it's a few fine strands, so that's reasonably acceptable. This is borderline manga. This is not happy for me, I'm afraid. I really wish they hadn't done with this. I posted on the Steam forum in the thread about this, a simple comment, please don't use this art style for Lost Eidolons 2. Look, they love this art, they're probably going to keep making this kind of art. This kind of art is very popular with the kind of people who made up a large amount of their fan base. So, Lost Eidolons was heavily inspired by a series of games called Fire Emblem, which I have not played, and apparently they are really, really, really anime, manga, not to my taste. But I like the kind of storytelling they used, the character progression and everything was all fun, right? It made Lost Eidolons an enjoyable game to play. The tactical combat was nice and tight and good overall. The character classes and progression was lots of fun. There was equipment and stuff we could, switch around as well. It was all great stuff, right? This is a step in the wrong direction for me. Visually, I do not think I can enjoy this. It will have to have really fun gameplay for me to be able to enjoy the art being degraded to this level of cartoony stuff. I'm not saying this is perfect, right? There were definite things about this that I think could have been different. The art style looked very French without being overtly French, and very Neverwinter Nights 2, actually, in terms of the tailoring choices made and the actual design of the outfits. This, less so. This, less Neverwinter Nights 2, right? Which is not entirely a bad thing. Again, the names of the characters, also very French. There's a general overall French feel to Artemisia. Why make a spin-off instead of Lost Eidolons 2? While it took a lot of internal discussion to reach this decision, in the end our reasons are pretty simple. It won't surprise anyone to say, while we're proud of Lost Eidolons, there are some elements that didn't quite come together as well as we would have hoped, and many of you felt the same. When we dove into player feedback for the game, 2 big points came up over and over again. First, players said they liked Lost Eidolons' story and characters, but found the actual execution to be sometimes lacking and often inconsistent. I would say, in some regards, I'd agree with this. To be sometimes lacking, I would say, like, there were a few points where it did feel the lack was there, but not constantly massively so. Often inconsistent. I wouldn't say often, but there were inconsistencies. Second, most players loved the combat system, but felt progression lacked meaningful choices and encounter design could be rigid and unforgiving. I don't feel that progression lacked meaningful choices. Encounter design... Right. There were a lot of enemies in some encounters who would just stand there and wait for you to come into their movement range, or their threat range, essentially, where they could reach with spells or ranged weapons. And they wouldn't be moving prior to that. They were kind of stupidly stand there waiting for us to enter into engagement range. This worked very well to balance the encounters and to allow the player to manage the encounters and break them down into more sizable portions. There were also some encounters where just meaningless, endless waves of nameless enemies would spawn, and certain powerful foes kept coming back from the dead and could never be slain. Constantly, to the point where it began to become a bit of a running joke with one particular wizard character. You know which one. If you've watched my playthrough, you know. I just don't remember his name right now. It wasn't Gabriel, but he looked like an evil version of Gabriel. After weighing this feedback and discussing it internally, we decided to try something new that would let us build on the engine we've created already, but take a big swing in a new direction with a storytelling approach that was lighter and simpler. So why did they change the art? Also, I've just always wanted to make a game that brought roguelite stuff into the turn-based tactical games genre. So we decided that before jumping into a sequel, which I hope mean a sequel is still coming, and please don't use this art style for the sequel, we try a spin-off and see what happens. What will probably happen is all the manga fans will love it and encourage you to make more of the same. We have an image here. It looks like we will be using items of equipment, right? I don't know if that means each hero or heroine can only have one item. So, for instance, this chap has the Recluse's axe. Does he have no armor? Does he have a... is it that each hero has a set of equipment, a default set of equipment, and you can replace one piece of that set of equipment? For instance, this man has a suit of armor. By the way, all of these, except for possibly this axe, are recognizable in-game icons from Lost Eidolons. This is fine, right? This is giving us more of what we like. This is what the fuck is wrong with her head. Seriously, it's like gonna topple and break off her neck and fall forward. She's got like no earlobes, giant earrings that dangle down oddly, like flappy things. It's more the angle of the jaw and the thinness of the neck and the massive ponytail at the back that makes it look oddly balanced. Anyway, so my point is this chap's wearing armor, right? So he doesn't appear to have a weapon or shield or anything. This woman has armor. She's got this chap, no armor. This wizard has a robe. So essentially, is it a case of we can only give one item to each character? Or is this like a pop-up, a reward? Like we've completed a mission, found some treasure, we can have one of these items to give to a character of our choice. This is showing us which character the item will be given to. So we've got what? Heavy armor, light armor / robe, should be a robe, another robe, two-handed axe, and a bow, right? And would it be the heavy armor would only go to this man, this robe would only go to this woman because it's a healer's robe, initiate's tunic, archivist's attire would go to, is it a case of, this person will, one of these items will be given to whichever person it shows? That's an interesting way of dealing with things, because if that's the case, select the effect to apply. So this isn't like showing us exactly everything everyone's got. This is like, no, one of these things. Interesting, right? That could be an interesting gameplay. Yeah, absolutely test build, not representative of the final game. Unfortunately, I suspect this art style isn't going to change very much. But I want to be very clear. This isn't some little pilot project or cash grab pseudo DLC. We're very serious about making Veil of the Witch an excellent RPG that stands entirely on its own 2 feet and offers a ton of depth and replayability, which unfortunately means we're probably also very serious about adopting this art style for future projects, which I'm really not happy about when it comes to the possibilities of Lost Eidolons 2. So when can I play it? This time around, we're going to be pursuing an early access model and do actual open game development with ongoing community involvement. One of my biggest regrets about Lost Eidolons was that we didn't do public playtest until after much of the game's design had already been locked in, and was difficult, or in some cases impossible, to change. One of the main reasons we did that was because it was a linear, story-driven game, and we consistently got feedback that players didn't want to play an incomplete version of that kind of game. After all, no one wants to read a messy first draft of a novel that spoils the plot. But as Veil of the Witch is a more gameplay-driven title, I feel a lot more confident sharing early builds so we can gather and integrate community feedback. If everything goes well, we'd like to launch in early access sometime in 2024, but it's likely we'll run some beta tests before then. And I'm sure that those of us on their Discord server will be some of the first to hear about that. Also, as I'm really hoping to release the game on Switch, our team has... Mobile port warning. Our team has put a lot of effort into lowering the overall hardware requirements. By the time we hit full release, we're hoping to make the game available on all consoles. And PC, right? No promises on simultaneous launch, though. I'm very excited to finally share our second Lost Eidolons project. We're planning to share more details in regular dev vlogs down the line, starting with this one. I hope you'll join our player community on Discord, where you can chat with us about the game. And don't forget to wishlist Veil of the Witch on Steam. See you soon, Jim Sang Kim, Creative Director, Lost Eidolons. Now, I've got a few more thoughts to share, right? So first off, let's get this open so we can... It's not going to be any bigger, is it? No. They don't want to let us see that one larger. Shame. There was a reference in the lore in Lost Eidolons 1 to a character so abhorrent that their name was stricken from the annals of the noble house from which they came. And it was so horrible they wouldn't even tell us if it was a man or a woman. I believed this character could be a major villain in Lost Eidolons 2, coming back as some kind of lich or undead wizard or witch. At the end of Lost Eidolons, 2 or 3 of the characters from the first game formed a Inquisition, which could be a kind of witch-hunting organization. I did also say that I felt quite strongly that the character of Albrecht, as the young wizard's apprentice, the very, very talented wizard's apprentice, becoming a wizard in his own right, I feel that he should return in a future Lost Eidolons game as a non-combat character, giving some information and advice to, an older version of Albrecht, about 20 or 30 years older. And I think this is more like, 2 or 3 or 4 years after. It's not massively so, because, for instance, we have this woman here who doesn't look that much older. Is that Godfrey? It could be Godfrey. Interesting. So yeah, I was feeling that this Inquisition mage hunting group of individuals might be a good plot device in a future Lost Eidolons game. And we have Veil of the Witch, as in the witch is hiding behind her veil. We're witch hunters. We're going to reveal the truth and find out what's going on with this witch. You know, so this could easily be related to that witch hunting theme. And if it is, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Also, we have Lost Eidolons Veil of the Witch page on Steam where we can go look at stuff. This looks very Lost Eidolons. It's the giant character models in squares, not the full-size character models, so we're seeing tiny wooden palisades and stuff. I suspect we were... Oh, we are still getting the combat zooms in for attack. Again, early build, not final. I need to look at this. Okay, so this is similar to... We're seeing the area of effect, the reach. One square in all directions. Sorry. Oh, it is like nearly 3 in the morning, you know. What else? We do not get to see this character's name. This looks a little bit like an older version of Eden. I hope it's not an older version of Eden. I genuinely hope this is a new main character. Jim Sang Kim has said in the past that if they make Lost Eidolons 2, the main character will be Eden's daughter. And therefore I imagine the game would take place like, 20, 25, 30 years afterwards. And some characters would return, hopefully. What we don't want to do is see characters from the previous game who were, high-level characters coming back as level 1 new party members going, oh yeah, I want to help again now. And be like, hey, but weren't you really powerful? Oh yeah, I'm just not now. Why? Also, if they're going for a roguelite approach, then there shouldn't really be a main character, and we should just be able to create a party. Now let's see what we got here. We got Elena, of course. Don't know who these are, though. We got Brown Priestess, Berserker Man, Wizard, and 1, 2, 3, 4 more unlocked characters. So it seems there's going to be a character unlock mechanic, similar to that card game where you play as animals and you unlock more races and items as you progress. That was very heavily card-based, wasn't it? It was called Banners of something? Banners of Ruin. That was it. So we've got starting equipment and a swap out a bow which can be swapped for 2 swords. An old friend of Marco's from the Warrior. Elena is a from the Warrior. I hope that's just placeholder text. Again, early, not even remotely ready for people to play yet. Looks like it'll be fun. I'm not happy about the art style. It does look like the combat will be very similar to Lost Eidolons, but that's what they're showing off now. This could change. Customize your build, tackle challenges. It's an animated little show-off now. Tackle challenges away with 9 characters. So it's not that roguelike. We don't get to make a party of characters. There's 9 set characters, and we probably don't get to use more than 3 or 4 of them at a time, especially as there's an image showing character selection. Upgradable equipment, discover exciting synergies. Yeah. Right. Well, this was extremely unexpected, and not what I was expecting from the developers at all. I thought next they'd be talking more about their new upcoming game, Blackout Protocol, which seems to be a top-down multiplayer, but everyone has to stay on the screen, zombie shooter. So the heroes can't go too far away from each other, real time. But no, they've showed off this, and it's come as a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I think it could be a lot of fun. Let's hang on. What's this? What? Why is this highlighted? It looks like a kind of oblong tower shield, but it's not on him. It's like diagonally offset. So it's something on the map. So why? She's casting a spell here. Wrath Divine, obviously Divine Wrath. The Imperial Mender is not... Is he off screen? Like, the camera's going to pan across as the attack happens. And we got a giant Hellhound in here. Completely enclosed on all sides, by the way. I don't think this is the Imperial Mender. So that's... I don't want to play at double speed. I want to enjoy it. So yeah, I'm going to be on the lookout for whatever happens next with Veil of the Witch. I'm going to hope that it maintains enough interesting gameplay for me to overlook my distaste for the newly adopted art style, and also hope that this art style doesn't then go on into Lost Eidolons 2. It would be interesting, actually, if there were a bunch of different projects, right? Main games would have one art style, and side games would have a different art style, so that you could easily tell them apart and have a sort of different visual identity, right? The story-focused games could have a more visual, realistic look for the characters, and you could have a more stylized, cartoony look for the more action-focused games, maybe. And then you could even have maybe like a detective game art style where, I don't know, maybe the arts, it would be like Cubism or something, right? Or like MC Escher character portraits. That'd be an interesting way to take things. So you know what? I don't entirely hate this new art style. I just don't like it as much as I liked the old one. So yeah, Ocean Drive Studio. Nice guys. I'm going to leave this one here. Hope you found this video informative and enjoyed it, and maybe you've got opinions. Perhaps you totally love this new art style and you want to say, hey Raph, you're an idiot, just shut up and love it, it's brilliant, it's just better. It's not better, it's different, okay, and we're allowed to like different things. And on that note, I think I'll leave this one here. Hope you all enjoyed the video, guys, and see you all next time. Bye for now, and if anyone from Ocean Drive Studios is watching, love your work, guys. Just because I don't like the artwork as much as anyone else, doesn't mean other people won't love it. And maybe I'll grow to like it in time. Bye-bye for now, guys.